What up? It's your boy, the Incredible Man, and yes, I am back at it again. And this is my discussion/review for Star Trek: Strange New Worlds, Episode 4, titled "Memento Mori." And I just gotta be real, that title gets used a lot in sci-fi stuff, man. Let's talk about it. I'ma live life for the fight, yeah, I'm here to get it. I got drive, got sight, always have a vision. I go by at night, I be in my feelings, I'ma be fine. I called it. I knew we were going to go that route, and they proved my point in this week's episode. Each week, we're going to focus on a different character along with some of the stuff that's going on with the actual episode. And this week's character was La'an, and I feel like it was a good thing for her because along with the title being Memento Mori and La'an still kind of reeling from her time with the Gorn and everything that's going on with this particular episode about, honoring the past and remembering the past, this was prime time for La'an to get her spotlight because she was one of those characters that, we really did get enough spotlight in the past couple episodes. And we know last week's episode was about number 1 and this week was about La'an, but it didn't really just solely focus on her. She was the main priority, but like we got a little bit of Spock with Leon, which was a nice little combo. We got a little bit of Hammer and Uhura like teaming up together, working together. Like this episode really put some people together that you probably wouldn't have never expected to be together, and it gave them a chance to shine, if you will. They sidelined number 1 and Mbanga in Chapel this episode. Mainly they stayed in the sick bay. Like we got to see glimpses of them here and there, but they were pretty much sidelined in the sick bay. Now, this episode, with everything that's going on with La'an and the title itself, was a good episode in my opinion. Still, last week's episode was the best, but this episode was actually pretty good as well, man. This was a really good episode in my opinion. It felt well-rounded, and sure, they kind of divided stuff up, a lot going on, instead of just trying to solely focus on La'an, but her story, her backstory or whatever, it wasn't that deep, and they still could kind of just go into it a little bit deeper later in the series if they choose to do that, because this was just kind of scratching the surface. This episode giving us the information that she has about the Gorn and what she dealt with and how she felt about it, because this episode started with us going to this planet, and it started with the narration of La'an and going to this planet to help this planet. But by the time we got to the planet, their satellite communications were down, like the whole satellite had been destroyed, and we couldn't really contact them at all. And the next thing you know, they beam down and we just see mass blood, destruction, and fire and everything. So they know that something's not right. And then boom, bam, Pike spots a ship floating off in the distance over there, and it's full of refugees from this planet because something happened to these people. And then that's how we get into the episode as a whole, and we learn that it is the Gorn because this little girl told La'an that something was like, it was, nah, I know what that is. Ooh, I know what that is. And La'an was like, she was kind of frozen because it kind of took her back. And boom, bam, that's how we got thrust into this episode. And we see that the Gorn attacked them while they were vulnerable, while they were saving the other people. And La'an was just frozen in, I don't want to say fear, but more of like a shocking state, because she's already having like these flashes of somebody she can't quite remember. And then the Gorn appears, and that just kind of triggers a whole bunch of stuff coming in with her, man. And that's where this episode kind of took that detour to go into La'an's little brief backstory, a little bit about what she had kind of went through, and kind of using her experiences to help everybody now because the Gorn are dangerous. And this episode, like I said, it was a good episode, and we get all of this stuff. We get these characters that I wouldn't have never expected to see together, like Hammer and Uhura. Sure, they're working together, like, because he's trying to actually help Uhura as a whole. But I like the connection that Hammer and Uhura had with each other, and we see that dynamic kind of change a little bit more once the ship is in this crisis mode and things start happening, and Hammer injures his hands in the explosion and stuff. So we get to see them in a different light, and we get to see now that Uhura kind of has maybe like a different path she would like to, well, not path, I don't want to say path, like a different feeling or motive to have to join Starfleet now. You know what I'm saying? It's not just it's this random thing that she done, and now she doesn't know if she wants to be here anymore. Now she's starting to see it a little bit from someone else's perspective, and it's giving her a perspective on how she wants to be a member of Starfleet now. And seeing La'an and Spock together was great, man. We know that they're two very different characters, but seeing them together, it made it just a little bit different and enjoyable, in my opinion, because they're so different. And seeing them together, trying to figure out a way to stop the Gorn and everything like that, that's where we get the mind meld. And I feel like that moment with the mind meld was actually a really great moment. Not the whole aspect, with La'an seeing her brother and all that stuff. That was cool because that helped the situation that we were in. We were in a dire need, and that was cool. But the mind meld itself between La'an and Spock feeling for her losing her brother, but she kind of also mind melded with Spock, and she learned that he lost a sister, and then that kind of gave you that little bit of sprinkle that it kind of tied it back into Discovery about him having a sister. And so it was a weird thing, and Spock was like, it's time we end this mind meld, okay? So it was nice, man. But I really, really enjoyed Pike this episode. I don't know how anybody else felt, man, but I have been enjoying Pike like no other, man. It feels good to have Pike be the captain, and I gotta give it up to Anson Mount, man, because he is playing the heck out of this character, man. Each week it makes me enjoy this character just a little bit more. We get sprinkled with it just a little bit more. How he was calm, cool, and collective. How they were doing this whole aspect, when the Century Gorn ship was out there chasing them into the brown dwarf. Like when he was out and that shit was out there chasing them, and Pike was like, okay, well, bring us around a little bit, ease on top of it, and when we do, then drop that photon torpedo on it. You know what I'm saying? Pike was cool, man. Pike is cool. I enjoy seeing him each week, and he's a character that you look forward to. And I mean, like, for me, myself as a whole, when I'm watching a Star Trek series, I mean, I know there's abundance of characters to enjoy, but it's always something about the captain. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's something about the captain that you just want to sit down and enjoy. And we all felt that way about Picard, Kirk, and everything. But now we get to feel that way about Pike, man. And not to exclude the others, but I'm just saying, now we get to feel that way about Pike, man. And it feels good. Pike is cool, man. I enjoy him and his little witty quips and him just overall taking command. And we got the Pike maneuver this episode. I enjoyed it, man. It was a very nice episode, and it ended on a high note as well, but not too high, if you will, because they escaped the Gorn with the Pike maneuver, but La'an is still kind of worried, well, what about the next ship? What about the next time? But Pike kind of eased her thoughts a little bit because, well, now we know to be prepared when the next time comes. So like it ended on a high note, but not like a super high note. You know what I'm saying? There was some losses this episode. There was like 7 or 8 people, 9 people. It might have been 9. I can't quite remember. But it's hard, man. Like sure, it was people we didn't know, but like it shows that this is not just a fun-loving thing that they're doing, man. It's gonna be dangerous at times, and they showed that this episode, and I feel like it's really taking a toll this time, man. And like, I know that like everybody was a little afraid, with the whole the sun radiation stuff from last week's episode, but now everybody's starting to see it just a little bit different. You know what I'm saying? Because Pike had to make a hard choice, shutting the bulkheads, and one person got caught and all of that. So like, it's gonna be hard. There's gonna be times, but I enjoyed the series as a whole thus far, man. Ortega's, I love Ortega's with her one-liners, and are we flying into the death trap? So it was a nice episode. Like, had a sprinkle of comedy, a smidget of comedy, and then it got us with the realization of, this is space, man. It's gonna be hard times, and then like the objects of death being kind of, I don't want to say lingering, but it's there. The presence of death is there. The possibility of it as a whole. And I gotta say, I enjoyed the episode. Just being 100%. I enjoyed this episode, man. It wasn't as good as last week's, but it was a very nice episode, and I enjoyed Pike. This is really incredible, man. Don't forget to smash the like button until you can't smash any more. Comment down below, and I'll be sure to respond to each and every one of them, and subscribe, but only if you really want to, man. Peace out.
All out, and I am here to stay right now, so don't call